certain ideas and certain criteria, right? We reflect those in our mission statements for our school. Our mission statements is kind of what is the filter for everyday decisions that we make at our school. Is embedded everywhere that we put things about our school. Our mission statement is there. So we kind of have to follow that mission statement with the principle of AI and modern technology. How we're going to do that? The human factor is a key to AI. What this means is like you need to make people understand, your teachers, your administrators, your students. You got to make them understand that we're not just adapting technology, we are forming a human person. We are forming the student. We are forming a professional teacher. We are forming our leadership members of the admin team. So it's not just that we establish a technology. We got to keep in mind that we are forming a person per se. So um, another thing is that not the AI is not a replacement of the human thought. Most times I hear comments like, "Well, if you do AI, that means you didn't do anything. The AI did everything for you," and that's not necessarily true. Um, Throughout the presentation, we're gonna be touching on some aspects of like how important it is to be a human prompting the things for AI to solve for you, or maybe not solve, but to give you ideas on how to proceed. Maybe you have this idea in your head and you don't know how to start, you don't know how to end, or you don't know how to make it work the way you want it. This is what AI is for, because it will grab information from the internet, information from many, many sources, and it will throw you ideas that you can shape into your own. So we got to make sure that we understand that the human factor is the key to AI. Algorithmics is kind of a term that the Catholic Church uses, and it's to represent the idea that technology must serve the human person and not the other way around. Kind of what we were talking about. When you are using technology, technology is supposed to serve you as the user. Um, I remember, I don't know how many people remember when the internet came along, and before, in my experience, I remember like grabbing encyclopedia books and going to the library to do research and doing all that stuff. That for me ended right away when the internet came along, and we didn't see it as a tool that was gonna revolutionize the entire world at the point, because we didn't understand what it was. Like how can a computer tell me something that is happening all the way around the globe, and things like that kind of changed the course of like humanity. And I think AI is going to do the exact same thing that the internet did. Um, and it's something that we're going to see in our everyday lives, just like we see internet right now. It will keep progressing. It will keep advancing. What we see about AI today is nothing. Is just the tip of the iceberg. Is There's way much more that is in the developments right now, and we're about to see all that. So it's better to be prepared for what's coming than to be reactive and not be prepared. And the integrity of the academic integrity, the moral framework to pursue the truth. This is about the integration of one's faith, character, intelligence, intellect. Um, it is the commitment to being the same person in private as, like, for example, if you were in front of a keyboard typing something on the computer, and you have to be the same person in public as if you were in the classroom teaching to the kids, in a meeting with your admin team, in a meeting with parent teacher conferences, etc. So you have to make sure that you cannot be two different people. You cannot be a person when you're behind a keyboard and a different person when you are interacting one to one. This comes with digital citizenship, hand in hand. What we teach our kids every day is to make sure that they are positive digital citizens. We don't want any of that negativity. We don't want any of that, like bullying online. We don't want any harassment online. We don't have any of those things. But all that is fostered from us. We need to teach the students how to progress on that idea of being a positive digital citizen and not something that is not who we are in real life. So that basically the point number one on the foundation. The point number two was governance. This has to do a little bit more with like the safety of the data, the rules that we need to follow, uh, certain certain privacy protection acts that are already out there, and we're gonna mention some of this stuff. Like the student and data safety, to me, is one of the most important facts or factors of the AI world. Um, we can be protected, or the companies that we use could protect us all they want, but it's ultimately up to us, because if us as teacher share some information online, it's us as administrators leave some portals open for people to have access, all that is the violation. It's a violation of your student data, and we got to make sure that we understand how not to do those things. Safety to me is non-negotiable. You cannot negotiate the safety of your students. That should be your number one priority. Uh, and talking about like companies that we will use along the way to explore the AI, for example, like Gemini from Google or Copilot from Microsoft, or Magic School, which Miss Cindy is going to be talking about it. All those companies are ready to present you a service, but they will have to comply with all the policies that you want them to follow. And if they don't do that, then unfortunately, you have to look elsewhere for some services, because you can't, like I said, safety is non-negotiable. You cannot negotiate with the safety of your students. These companies, the big names, are already in the train of like, we know that this will be the number one priority for all schools. So they already have some certain regulations in place that allow you to be more protected, you know, protect your student data, protect your students' safety, etc. But you cannot be 100%, worry free. Technology is, like I said, is evolving every day, and many other things can come around, and um, that there are not policies for it yet, and we need to be prepared. We're gonna talk about COPPA and FERPA. If you're not familiar with these two little policies, you have more information at the end. There's going to be a link to a document that we put together where it explains and give you kind of like the comparison of both COPPA and FERPA. It's the Children's Online Privacy Protection Act, and the FERPA is the Family Education Right Privacy Act. Um, these things are everywhere. Everywhere you go to conferences, everywhere you go to learn about AI, these two words will pop up everywhere you go, because they are kind of the core of what are we doing to make sure that when we implement the AI, we are protecting the kids, and we're protecting the data of not only the kids, but like the whole entire school, including administrators and teachers. Um, and then we're going to talk about the difference between making a policy and starting with a framework. Whenever you try to make an adoption of a product, kind of like Ms. Cindy is going to talk about, they're adopting Magic School. You have to have in place certain policies and rules. What I've learned so far is that you need to start with a framework, which is like a guide of what you want to do, and it's very raw. It's very not specific. It's very general in terms of like, we're not going to use particular names or particular softwares, but we're going to kind of generalize. Instead of saying Magic School, we're going to say any AI educational, oriented software. Because if you start doing policy, what's going to happen is you're going to have to change that policy every week because something new is coming your way like every single day. So if you make a policy that is set on stone, like this is what we're going to follow. I'm going to give you a quick example. Our policy here at school, since like a couple of years, was regulating smartwatches. Kids with smartwatches could not, they could not bring it to school because we started finding that like iWatch and some Fitbit and some other brands would allow you to get like text messaging, communication back and forth, things like that. So we banned those from school. We said that in a policy, and it was written like no kids can bring those things. So everybody was, pretty receptive about it. Parents were, they understood the situation, and they were like, okay, if that's what it comes to, we won't send our kids to school with those devices. A couple of months ago, well, maybe more than that, now we have the Meta glasses. I don't know if you guys are familiar with it, but not only the big brands are making Meta glasses now, but any brand are making Meta glasses. Like Meta glasses you can find on the internet for like $30. So it's not like they used to be $500, $400 anymore. So now the policy that we created is specifically for one device does not apply to this new device because our policy states, iWatches, Fitbits, digital smart watches. And when the parents, because you know how it will happen, the parents will come to school and say, well, there's nothing in the policy that says no glasses, and so that's what I'm trying to say with framework and policy. A framework would allow you to add and subtract things as you go, to then create a policy that you're like, okay, well, I don't think anything else. And I'm not saying you're never going to change your policy. You might change it within a month, within a year, or every year, which you should. But what I'm saying is, if you have a framework and you understand the ability of technology's expansion, then you will know that the policy cannot be set on just specific things. It needs to be more broad and inclusive. So that way, when things like this come around with the Meta glasses, then you're prepared. You say no smart devices instead of no smart watches. That's just an example of how I see it. All right, and then we'll move into the Catholic ecosystem. This is more talking about like the tools and the infrastructure that we as Catholic schools should have in place for when this wave of AI comes to us, which is already here. I put the campus responsible use of AI technology. We're building like a wall garden. Think of it as there are tools out there with no restriction, with no boundaries, and we as the administrators and we as the teachers, we need to come to a consensus of like, okay, we need to put some protection in here. We need to let the kids play, but we need to make sure that they're playing in an environment where it's safe, or as safe as we can make it. And how do you accomplish that? Well, you use managed tools like, for example, like Magic School, like Gemini, that you can manage things through the admin console. There are many other software and many other companies, many other online sites that will allow you to have some sort of control over what you put or you expose your students and your teachers to. So that's what this responsible use of AI technology talks about. We got to ensure that the students get the benefit of AI without the risks of the open web. Because if you use, for example, if you let your kids openly use ChatGPT, there is no restrictions of what answers they're going to get. If you use something managed like Copilot from Microsoft or Gemini through the Google Admin Console and through the Microsoft Admin Console, you could manage where the AI platform takes the answers from, which will make a more safe environment for your students. Um, Prioritizing managed digital ecosystems for safe creation and consumption, kind of like the same thing that we're talking about. Um, I was in the previous review of this slide, I was putting something like guarantee the safe of creation and consumption. And I was told that the word guarantee is not the right word for that particular bullet. And I never thought about it, but then I immediately agree with it. We cannot guarantee online safety for the students. That is not something we can do. However, we can foster safe ecosystems for them to have their own experiences. When you use managed ecosystems like Gemini, Magic School, Copilot, you are kind of like prioritizing the managed digital ecosystem, as if you were using OpenAI. Then that means, I mean, it's free to grab from anywhere. So we cannot guarantee the safety for our students, but we can try to foster a safe ecosystem. The stool stack, we talk about, again, the same usual suspects, Gemini with Google, Magic School. Canva now has a big, huge AI ecosystem embedded within their interface. It's great for lower grades. I saw a couple of presentations a couple of months ago when I went to a conference, and Canva was everywhere for the little kids. It allows them to be creative. It allows them to, use the platform with AI included, embedded, and it seemed like when you adapt that for your schools, it was a very safe environment. There was Brisks, and then you have your not usual suspects, which you don't see these companies as AI companies like you watch, like you see Gemini, like you see ChatGPT. When you talk IXL, you don't think AI. When you talk BrainPop, you don't think AI. The truth is that these companies are embedding AI within their systems like for a while now. And even though they're not calling themselves an AI company, they are including AI within their things. Khan Academy is a huge one right now. Again, that same conference that I went to, Khan Academy was everywhere promoting their AI embedding results. So now every single company has some sort of touch of AI technology embedded within. And then as we talk about this, I don't know if Miss Orlando is already ready, but Miss
I'm
Orlando,
ready.
okay.
I'm ready.
So I'm gonna let her go ahead, and I'm gonna stop sharing my screen, and
Okay, you
I'm
mean
gonna
I
let
should.
her take her screen on, and she's
Okay,
gonna talk a little bit about her
cool.
inclusion of Magic School in her school.
Awesome. Thank you, David. I appreciate it. First of all, I'm Cindy Orlando. I am the Director of Teaching, Learning, and Innovation at St. Cecilia Catholic School. As a part of my role, I do work very kind of guiding the ship for technology at St. Cecilia alongside John Ayler, our assistant principal. Together with our principal, we kind of shape how we want technology to look at St. Cecilia. We are currently undergoing a technology framework review. As a part of that process, we have members of our staff, members of our leadership team, our student support team, and school advisory council and parents to help us to shape what we would like our technology framework to look like at St. Cecilia, knowing, like what David said, it's kind of a moving target and it always needs to be reviewed, refreshed, modified, trying to stray away from policies and focusing on guiding principles. So we actually have a meeting tomorrow. We've met several times. And a part of that conversation is, where does AI fit into our technology framework? And just a disclaimer, I do not claim to be an expert in AI at all, and especially not an expert in Magic School, but I am happy to share with you guys the tool that we have adopted for this school year and just kind of show you around some of the things that we like about Magic School. And we're still learning. So we have this summer I went to ISTE along with a couple of other of our academic coaches and quickly realized that, Magic School was one of the leading tools in that world of student facing AI and teacher facing AI. So came back from ISTE, and David Garcia Prats has always been kind of pushing us to try to adopt Magic School, and realized that if we were going to look at an AI platform, that it would be logical to adopt a platform that eventually could be used with our students. We are not currently using this as a student-facing tool. We are using it as a teacher-facing tool, trying to get our teachers comfortable with the use of AI for themselves in a professional way and understanding the platform to then hopefully at some point, and we haven't even had that discussion yet, of possibly using it with our students. We know that it's inevitable. Our kids are already using AI, and we would like to shape the way that they use it on our campus as much as we can. So we know we don't have 100% control over the kids' use of AI and how they use it and what tools they use. There's no guarantee, as David said, we can't really guarantee any of that in this world anymore, but we would like to be able to shape it as much as possible in line with our school mission, and that's educating the whole child, mind, heart, and spirit. And so we know that they're going to grow up in a world, they already are growing up in a world where they will not know a world without AI. So what does that look like for us as we prepare them to function in the world of AI appropriately? So I'm going to share my screen and kind of pop around different aspects of Magic School. Can you guys see my screen?
Yep.
Okay. Can you hear me? Okay, awesome. So we are a ClassLink school, so we roster Magic School through ClassLink. There are multiple ways that you can roster with Magic School. So this is just one of the ways, and it's the way that we chose to do it. This is the enterprise dashboard. So I am considered like admin level. So you see I have my Magic School tools. That is, all teachers have that. And then Raina is sort of like their Gemini. It's just a chatbot, but it's all through the lens of an educational lens. Magic School Labs, those are where this is an area where you can be a thought partner kind of with them and collaborate with them on future AI tools that they would like to use. And so this is sort of just that. It's sort of a lab area where they're working. You can sign up to use and kind of explore some of their tools that they're looking, kind of get early access, if you will. And then as an admin, we have access to all of our teachers. You can see our users, reporting tools. So here we are able to see usage by teachers. Really gives us a good overview of where our hotspots are and what educators are using it. We had a really strong start to using Magic School, and just like with anything, we need to really ramp things up and ensure that teachers are using it or really support them in feeling comfortable in using it. So it helps as admin to really see what's being used. And then also what I really like about it too is what are the tools that our teachers are using the most from Magic School. And so we can kind of spotlight certain tools that we see that maybe they're not using as much because they maybe just don't know what it could do for them as a teacher. And so we've used some of this data to say, okay, maybe we should spotlight not writing feedback, lesson plan or informational text in our academic support team meetings. So this feature is really nice for as a school to see what tools are being used, who's using them the most, that kind of stuff. So really helpful in determining and shaping some professional learning as well as we use this tool more and more. As an admin, one of the things that's really nice, you can see up here, you can control if it's accessible for students. Right now we have that off. We want to be very intentional and methodical in our approach with how we want to use this tool. Right now, like I said, we're just getting our teachers comfortable with the tool. And then eventually we would like to go into using it with students. And then Magic School Labs is turned on. But here you can turn off and on any tools for your organization when we have the student turned on, you can also control the tools there that students can use. Right now, since we only have teachers turned on, that's not an option here. And then feel free to stop me at any point, guys, if you have any questions. And then these are just the kind of the enterprise tool dashboard. They can disable tools. We can create new tools. This is a really cool feature, is you can look at tools that already exist within Magic School, and you can customize them to better fit your community and what you might want. And so it's just like with any AI, the more you use it, the more it kind of knows you and will better fit your needs. So we have used this. In particular, our academic coaches have used this to kind of shape tools to help us with unit planning. And so that the tool is really more in line with our unit planning process. So teachers, when they use the unit planning tool, it's more effective and produces something that's more usable for them. So that's the admin side of things. If I was a teacher and I wanted to use Magic School, the first thing here are your teacher tools. And a lot of these tools are free on the, the Magic School side, not the enterprise side. But there's a lot more customization and a lot more control that an organization has when they have the enterprise system, which is what we wanted to ensure that we would have. Kind of that overarching, ensuring things were in line with our mission and being able to control a little bit of that, especially if we ever release it to students. Of course, you would need to have the enterprise version. So just a couple of tools. There's a ton of tools. So we could be here all day looking at all the tools, but Raina is just your chatbot. So our teachers use Raina a lot more than anything else just because it's very simple, but this is just your regular chatbot that you could use just like you would use Gemini, but it does have more of an educational lens. So the results that are produced tend to be more in line with like an educational lens than like a Gemini or even a ChatGPT, which we don't really recommend our teachers using ChatGPT. And then the other one I wanted to show you, there's the lesson plan generator. This one's really cool. So you can, of course, any grade level you would like. And then we always encourage our teachers, you can put your topic in here. So adding and subtracting fractions. Fourth grade. This is just a current unit that we actually use this to help plan actually. But then we always go to the snapshots and just copy it straight from there. And so that you can add in additional criteria. But usually I like to start with just a basic, see what it produces. So then I just click generate. But our teachers will also sometimes when we're doing this, like I need, I only have like 45 minutes. So they'll give it those parameters. Or also something that you can also do is say, I want to use fraction, manipulatives with fractions, fraction tiles. And so the lesson will all be designed around the use of fraction strips. So this will be like, we'll have a lot of components and you're probably thinking like, can't do all this in one class period. But what's nice is that then you can take this and refine it a bit.
Cindy, I've seen an example where at the beginning you can ask it to include ticks or
yes,
and it'll automatically pull those in for you for that lesson.
Yes.
And what was I going to say? Yeah, even the Nesbecs, we had asked them if maybe they can incorporate that, when you purchase Magic School, they could probably pull those in too. So that's something you can request from my understanding.
Yes, and actually I just received an email for them. We gave them feedback like, hey, one of the things that they say that's like one of the benefits is that you can add different resources like your lesson planning template, your snapshots, you can add it, but you're only able to add it to, like, you'd have to add it to each individual tool, right? And one of the things that we gave them feedback on is that that's kind of cumbersome. Is there any way that we could have like a place where we add it to our entire district, or really our school dashboard, so that it always, teachers, no matter what tool they're using, can pull from the tool, from the different things like what you're talking about, like the NSBEX or the Catholic standards. And so that's something that they are, supposedly that's coming out at the end of February, where
Oh,
you can
cool.
do that, which is really great. I think that's going to be much more useful. The less things a teacher, I mean, I think we all know this, but the less things a teacher has to do for the tool to be able to produce what they want, the more they're inclined to use it. So the big part just about with any AI is giving it the right prompt, because a lot of times the feedback, if we get from a teacher like, oh, that didn't really give me what I wanted, it's usually the prompt that isn't guiding the tool to give you what you want, right? And so it's really about effective prompting. But what Magic School does that I've noticed is different than a Gemini, and especially different than a ChatGPT, is that it is more in line with what you would want, because it's got that educational lens that it's pulling through, right? And so that's been nice. So did I kind of answer your question? But you
Oh, yeah,
can,
yeah.
like, I could upload the snapshots and it would pull from that. I just copied that one standard because it was easier to do that than to like link the whole snapshot, right?
Sure. And from my understanding, can it also, because you were saying, here's the lesson, you can refine it, but you can actually, from my understanding, tell it, I want this to be 1 30-minute lesson, or I
Oh yeah,
want this to
from the
be,
start. Yes.
I want this to be 3 40-minute lessons from the
Yes,
start, and it'll break it down for you.
Absolutely. And that's what's so cool. And you can even say, like, give me a minute by minute breakdown. Like some of our, actually use this with a newer teacher. I was like, because, newer teachers need a little bit more of a breakdown sometimes, right? And so I was like, let's tell it to give us a minute by minute breakdown. Not that we're going to follow it exactly, but it will give us a more specific, almost like a script, right? Some teachers need that, some teachers don't. So that's helpful as well. So another tool, so that's the lesson plan
I'm
tool.
trying to find Bordowski because I'm literally in the middle of a Zoom right now, the Artist Chassis and Technology Coordinator meeting.
So one of the things that was hard for us at first to realize is that as a teacher, just like with Gemini, you kind of have this whole output history that you want to track and be able to like pull from later on or even add to. So the output history is an important part, because everything you've created personally through Magic School is here. And so it's good to go back. Like I did something with folktales and fairy tales in 2nd grade. I can go and pull that up and we can refine that and look at that, maybe add something to it, maybe take something away. So this was a little kind of unit plan that we developed for 2nd grade folktales. We asked it originally in the beginning. I'm kind of going up to the top. This was the prompt that we wanted it to be aligned to standards 2.6a. We wanted it to use the template that I attached. Now, it didn't put it in the template, but what it did was it included all the criteria that you could then copy and paste into the template. I wanted it to tell me what proficiency looked like. I wanted it to include formative and summative assessments. So it produced this for me, and it did a really good job. We are standards based. So it then told me actually what would be considered exceeding, meeting, approaching, and beginning. And then all the supporting standards that I would need to incorporate, where I could incorporate assessments, formative and summative. So some implications for data, student data, because that's a component we have in our unit plan, is what might be some implications that we need to consider for our students regarding MAP and other assessment data. And then it grids out, because it's a grid, you don't know what our template looks like, but it's a grid, and I said I wanted the unit to be 15 days. And so it tells me exactly what my objective should be for each teaching day and what my teaching points will be for that day. It gave a lot more stuff. Normally in our unit plan, like we just have the teachers put the objective, the teaching points, and then if there's any assessment on that day. But like for a teacher, a lot of what the overwhelming part is of a unit plan process, or really of anything that they're trying to do, is staring at a blank page. And what this does is really give them a good jumping off point that they could then tweak and modify to meet their needs in the classroom. And David, I don't want to go over time, so do you want me to show more tools? You there?
I think his mute's still on. David, you
Oh.
mute's on. There
I'm
you-
sorry. Yeah, I was. Yeah. And you can show more. And I actually have a question.
Yeah, go for it. What's up?
Without putting you in the spotlight for sure.
Yeah, I'll
Um,
try to answer it as best I can.
when you it was well, this is a comment when you show the reporting, and you mentioned this also, that the number one tool used is the equivalent to
Yeah.
the equivalent to the AI tools that we know. And that's kind of like, it's funny to see how like people straight go to that, because they're like, okay, but this is like Gemini, this is like
Yeah.
ChatGPT.
Yeah,
So
I
that's
think
what
there's a
I'm
level
gonna
of comfort there with it. I don't love that. Like,
absolutely.
I want to really push teachers, but just like with anything, it does take time. And all of our teachers are just on different levels. We did start this whole process by determining, like, where are you with AI? Have you used it? Have you thought about it? You don't know what it is. I use it in my everyday life. I've used it once, understanding that you've got teachers on your campus with a variety, just like with all tech tools, a variety of experience, right? So I did anticipate that Raina would be the number one thing in the beginning, and then eventually teachers become more comfortable with trying specific tools.
Yeah. And my question was, because I know the adoption, you now release it to the teachers, not the students, but before you release it to the teachers, was there any previous kind of like PD sessions, trainings, kind of like guidelines
Yeah.
for teachers, and how to, and I think it's a two-part question, and how to use this thing. And if when that happened, did you feel that some teachers, that your 100% of your staff and teachers were like, yay, on board? Or did you find that some were like, you know what,
Yeah.
I'll stick with Google and a Word doc?
Right, right. That's a great question. Um, so we at the end of last year, we always do a like what to expect next year and kind of just give a very broad like here are some things you can expect, right? And so one of the things that we mentioned is that we would be taking a closer look at AI and what that looks like as a teacher to improve their efficiency and effectiveness. And then also we were very clear that this would not be used with students right away, but that may be where we end up going if our school feels comfortable with that, right? So we laid that groundwork, very basic, at the end of last year. And then actually, David Garcia Prats came at the beginning of the school year at our August in-service and spent a few hours with our faculty, kind of similar to what I'm doing right now. Did probably a much better job actually, showing the tools on Magic School and just understanding where everyone was, kind of a pulse check on where everyone was with the use of AI, which I think did an awesome job of really kind of putting some people at ease and also just opening some people's eyes to the fact that like you may not feel that you're comfortable with it, but here it is. It's in our world. It's in our students' world. So take it or like this is what it is, kind of just as a matter of fact. And then once we went forward with Magic School, we had an all school training on using Magic School. And then we spent in our weekly newsletters to teachers, we have like a little PD section. So each week for 2 months was a tech tool highlight on Magic School, and then like a little bit of an encouragement to use it. If you use it, send me an email, and you'll, something like that. Just kind of trying to encourage them to use the different tools, and that really helped to get them. But I know that with any tool, like we really need to, it's a continuous thing, to continue to encourage teachers to use a new tool. It takes more time, so they're going to be a little bit more hesitant sometimes. Did I answer your questions, David?
Can I add something? I think
Yes, I was hoping you would.
To the process. I just want to give kudos to the admin, I think, at St. Cecilia, who did their own homework and got used to AI first, right?
good
So
point, yeah.
I think there's something to be said for that comfort level where the admin and the leaders on campus, and that can be teachers, that
Yeah.
can be whoever it is, right? But especially if you're a principal, assistant principals, academic deans, people like Cindy who are doing, this kind of academic work, are starting to see how that flow works for themselves, then that becomes a really good way where they can speak to, it's not this magical thing. It's something that works for us and what we're doing for our own work. So
Mhm.
they felt, I think, I won't speak for you all, but I think they felt comfortable in how they used
Mhm.
AI personally for their work, that they were then able to sort of be the leaders and the vanguards as they're talking about, like, we really think this can make a difference in teachers' lives and efficiencies of life. And we know it can be effective and safe and all of those sort of things.
Right,
So
right.
I think one of the things that's super important is, if schools are looking to move this way, is how is your admin understanding what that looks like for themselves as well. And that can be, of course, people on this tech call, assistant principals. There's a million
Mhm.
ways that you can kind of make that happen. But I think first step really was, how do the leaders on campus understand, use, and think about AI also. So, and I think St. Cecilia's did an actually really amazing job of being the leaders on their campus and understanding what that work was. So,
Yes, thanks,
she would
David.
never give herself that credit, but I'm going to, because I think they did really great work as they moved that way. So
Thank
just an
you, thank
additional
you.
thought.
Yes. Okay, well, I mean, I don't want to monopolize David the whole time. So you
How
just
about
tell
how
me,
about how about
is there
one
any
more?
questions? One more
How about
tool?
one more tool? Yes.
Okay, so sure. So let me see. Oh, I know which one I do love for myself. But one of the things that we are always trying to work with teachers on is questioning, because we know that our questions, when the deeper they are, the more it's rigor it's going to produce in the classroom. So one of the things that I love is, okay, right now I'm trying to find it, the DOK questions. So we have been working, we're a standards-based school in fourth grade on down. And so we've been working to ensure that we provide opportunities for our students to reach all depths of knowledge, regardless of what the content is. And so I love this tool. It will create questions at all 4 DOK levels so that you can even put in a lesson plan. And of course, I don't have one right now, but you can put in a lesson plan and it will give you the questions that would be good to ask at all levels. So you can ensure that you're asking questions at all 4 levels. Let me see, what could I do here? I guess I could do adding and subtracting fractions. It might not be as exciting, but let's see. So the topic, we could just put adding and subtracting fractions. Yeah. Again, you can be as specific as you want. And so you can even add, like, let's say you had a specific worksheet that was related to that you'd want to ask questions on, or an activity that you could load here. And so it would give you questions to ask directly related to that activity, which is really cool. So now it's giving me the DOK at all levels of how I could challenge my students to extend their thinking. Um, love this. I also love this because, well, we know that when we start something, we may be at level 1, but we should quickly be moving to level 2 and really level 3, depending on the standard, right? And then we have our students in our room where they're ready for level 4, and they're all ready for these things at different times. And so what this does is just give us a bank of resources and questions and activities that we could go to push our kids to the different levels of thinking. So I really love this tool. I think it's just a great resource. I think teachers oftentimes, just like with everything, they don't have the time to be thoughtful in their questioning, and this does that for them. And it can be much more, personalized to whatever lesson you might be doing. Questions? The other tool that I love too is the Standards Unpacker. I can show that one to you if you want, but
Go it.
okay, so love this one mainly because, well, I think all teachers, it's hard. You see the snapshot and you're like, okay, I look at that standard and I'm like, what does that mean for a third grader? Or what does that mean for a fourth grader, really, that standard? And so the Standard Unpacker, because we are a standards-based school, has been so helpful because it tells us, it helps us to determine what that means, and it kind of puts it all right there for us. So I'm going to go over to the snapshot. And I'm in a second grade one, and I'm just going to pull up this one we recently did, folk tales, fables, and fairy tales. I'll put it in the, so you could put it down here. I'm just going to put it right here. And of course, change that to second grade. So generate. Okay, so cool. So I'm going to go back up to the top. Of course, I can modify this, but what I love about it is it's telling me all the skills that I need to make sure, because especially with ELA, I sometimes feel like it's so many things. How do I determine what it is I really need to focus in on? And so this really helps us to determine what that is. And so I have this standard unpacked, and I can plan my unit of instruction very thoughtfully based on the breakdown of the standard, what the expectations are for a student, what they need to be able to do by the end of that unit to really show mastery of that standard. I love this too. These are my I can statements that I can put on the board that will guide my lesson planning and unit planning. Then it gives me some instructional strategies that are going to be best based on that standard. Gives me some assessment ideas, and then kind of a summary of what the whole, the standard unpacking told me. So this is a great place to start. When we do our unit planning process with our teachers, we oftentimes start here because we need to know what the standard really wants us to do before we really get into the unit planning process. And then from there, we can really plan a cohesive unit based on what that standard unpacker is really telling us we need to be teaching our students. So love that one. Questions?
That's amazing, especially because sometimes the standards, when you read them, the words they use is very hard to like untangle. And
Yeah.
And if you read standard by standard and certain aspects of the domain, there are certain standards that look just like alike,
That's
like,
what I was about to say. They look like almost the exact same, but it's like a
Yeah.
second grade standard, but also a fourth grade standard. So what's the difference in the level of teaching? And so this really helps to determine that.
it's awesome.
Okay. You want me to stop sharing, David?
Yeah, if you're done, yes.
I think that was yes. I'm excited to see what the adding documents to the district-wide dashboard does, because I do think that would personalize a lot of things and um be helpful in creating sort of a space that is really more customized for a Catholic school in the Archdiocese.
Yeah.
All right.
Thank you so much, Cindy. That was excellent.
Absolutely. You're welcome.
All right. Am I back?
You are.
Okay. Okay. Well, you know what? Now it makes more sense to keep presenting after the demonstration, because all that I'm talking about here, we kind of seen like now hands-on with Ms. Orlando. So it makes it much better. The fourth point was the implementation and the 4-year plan. What I call the 4-year plan. Some people call it 3 years. It depends how fast you want to move with these things. But she mentioned something about this without seeing my presentation, I think, that teacher training and learning to be a master prompter is like super key to this, because many times, and this is the wrong conceptions that we have to shake off the desks of the teachers. I think their conception of AI is like, oh, of course, just by adding and subtracting fractions will give me everything I need to know about that particular thing. But if you master that prompt, you can get way better results when it comes to that topic. So I think she mentioned it, her presentation, her demo. Master prompter is to me, one of the keys for teachers and even for students to be great users or great creators when it comes to AI. The more, and I love a thing that also Magic School presents is the little button for recording. I feel, and I don't know if this happens to you, that sometimes, because I try to be a master prompter. I try to give as many details as possible before I get an answer. Like, for example, if it was if it was adding a subtraction of, like the example you gave, adding and subtracting fractions, I will add, obviously Magic School already has like for what grade, but I will add, I'm this teacher, I'm a male teacher. That sometimes you think that those details don't matter, but they do matter. I'm a male teacher. My classroom is of 20 students. Their socioeconomic background varies between this and that. We're located in Houston, Texas. Things like that that you won't think like, why would this software need that much information? But once you put all this in there, you get a much more detailed, a much more personalized oriented response than you will get if you just put, here's my class and I want adding and subtracting fractions. You give more. So my point was trying to find the prompt. Sometimes when I write all the prompt and before I hit enter to get the answer, I'm like, well, I might just copy this prompt and use that as my answer. Like I answer my own prompt by creating the prompt. So, it comes and goes. The expectations for the teachers, staff, and students and their AI identity. That's why I asked that particular question. Was their professional development before this was released to the teachers? I know Mr. Garcia Prats jumped in and said much about this too. Like, you need to make sure that the teachers understand what their identity is and what are you using this for, and then the 4-year roadmap, like I said, you incorporate, I mean, you make it your own, but I'm going to go ahead and share in the chat right now. I'm going to share let me see where the chat is. All right, so if you go to the chat, I'm going to share the link for that document. And let me know if you get it. And I'm going to jump to that document real quick. So you just kind of go glance through it real fast. And I don't know if you can see my screen. You have it with you, but so I put the 4-year strategic roadmap because in our school we haven't even had the conversation of like, what are we trying to do, what software or sites are we trying to adopt. So this is from like scratch. Like if you have nothing like we do, like we know that teachers are using ChatGPT, we know that teachers are using Gemini, we know that teachers are using like the free versions of Magic School and Canva and all that stuff, but we don't have any plan. They're just using it freely as they go. So this is kind of like a strategic thing that you can do year by year if you want a 4-year goal that in the 4th year you're already established something. The first year is the foundation and discernment. Kind of like the discovery phase. You're gonna tell your focus is gonna be building a safe culture and exploration, establishment, and governance. You want to try to give all the information you have out to your teachers, out to your administrators, out to your community, that this is about to happen. You need a task force, you need a playground, you need youth leadership, you need core strategic training. You got things like what is AI, what policies are we going to adopt, how we're going to get there, Who's going to do the professional development? All these kind of things you can plan to use in your first year. You're not releasing anything yet. You're just playing around with the idea of AI. You're presenting it to the people. You're letting everybody soak this in. The second year is the partnership and framework. It's the pilot phase. You're going to start giving them a little bit of resources, controlled resources, kind of like Magic School. The focus on this will be creating a formal structure and engaging our primary stakeholders. What do you need here? You need to identify AI helpers. The first year will give you the task force, so you kind of have a progression in there. You're going to do a student pilot program, which, Ms. Cindy, I don't know if that, you said that that's not even in the conversation just yet, but you know, something like this will give you kind of like an idea. If you want to release a pilot program, you might not want to release it to the whole school at once. You might not want to grab just 8th graders, for example, or just let's see how the little ones do. Let's do fourth grade. Let's do first grade, you know, and then you throw a pilot in there, and then you see how it evolves, and it gives you a great idea of like, oh well, if I'm implementing this first grade right now, that kind of gives me an idea how the 8th graders are going to react. That kind of gives me an idea how the 2nd graders are going to react, and so on. You move slowly, but you have a steady pace. And then you got the parent town halls. You got to make sure that the parents understand what's happening. You don't want the kids to go home and say, hey, you know what? We played with AI today. And then the parents don't know anything about it. And they're like, wait, hold on. What are you seeing? What are you doing? You got to make the parents involved. And then the guidance document, you put kind of like your framework with, and I mentioned here the COPA and FERPA, but you want to make sure that there's something within the guidelines of what you're doing. And then critical thinking and prompting, we talk about this. The second year, you want to make sure your teachers and the people that is going to be doing the pilot programs, the people that's going to be your AI helpers, that everybody understand how important prompt is. Because again, humans are the greatest prompters to give the machine what humans want to get as a result for their benefit. It's not all the other way around. Is we are telling the machine what to do for us, and the more accurate we are at telling them, the more accurate results we're going to get. That's for second year. And then you jump into the third year, capacity on competency, scaling phase. The focus on this, deepening skills, creating a permanent knowledge base. What do you need here? Intensive professional development, for sure. Training until there's no more training, and then train some more. You get the resources repository. You can create like maybe like a Google Doc or even a Google website, a Google page, where you add all the stuff that you've been discovering. In that way, everything will be there, and nothing gets like, hey, what was that thing that we learned on year first of this implementation that it's been such a long time, I don't even remember. You can always go to this repository of things and like kind of revisit certain things. And the skills implementation, you got to make map specific AI components to each grade level. For example, 6th grade learn AI search ethics, and 12th grade learns AI data analysis. You again tweak this the way your campus feels it will feel your needs. And the 4th year, again, I added a 4th year. Normally you can see this on a 3-year base, but the 4th year is basically evaluating and stewardship. You're gonna sit down as your 4th year, or whatever you pick as your last year to be 3 or 4. You're gonna sit down and kind of analyze what had happened in the previous 3 years that you've been doing all these steps. Did you master any goals? Did you have any goals that you accomplished and you're like, done, check, we're ready to move to the next one? Evaluate your progress. You put every progress in a document and say, you know, this is what we have accomplished so far. This is what we haven't. Let's move along and make another 4-year plan for this now. Obviously, you're not going to start from zero because you already have much of your foundation already there. but you're gonna work towards those new goals and make sure that you accomplish them. The revision of policy, I wouldn't do this every 4 years. I would do this like every year, just to revise. Like I said before, policies should be changing yearly because there's so much new stuff that comes every day that, I mean, a policy cannot, I don't think it can stand from 1 year to the next. You always have to revise your policy and make sure that, you know, this works, this doesn't work anymore for us. We got to make a revision here. And finally, what's next? You know, in 4 years from now, I'm telling you, and you're probably gonna laugh, this presentation gonna be meaningless, because there will be so much more out there that you're gonna say, well, look, we have to revisit this whole thing, the whole entire thing, the whole year 1, year 2, year 3. This doesn't mean anything right now because we are now in a different era. Like I said at the beginning, AI is something that we are just seeing the very, very minimum of. It's evolving daily, hourly. We don't know when it's gonna stop or where it's gonna stop, but we're moving a super fast pace right now. And so you gotta after each year you gotta sit down and kind of revisit everything that you have done in the previous year and say, hey, look, I don't think for year 2, and you go back to this again, I don't think for year 2 we can do a student pilot program anymore. We did it the year 1, but let's stop right there. This is going too fast. Let's revisit. Let's go back to year number 1, refocus on certain things, and then we'll see if we're ready for step 2. You know, again, your campus, every campus is different. You're gonna find, you know, your own ways of doing things. So that's my kind of idea of a 4-year roadmap into your school strategic plan. And then finally, you have the community and partnership, communication and buy-in. You got to make sure you follow the Catholic alignment usage of AI. When you release these parent communications, parents are worried about screen safety, you know, all the time. They're worried about how much time is my kid spending in front of a computer. In fact, in the conference that I went to, many schools said that they even reduce their screen time to like 1 period a day, and that's it. Like, you use it 1 period and then the rest is like back to basics. I mean, I don't know. Again, each campus is different. That might work for certain campuses. Certain campuses might be different, and they were like, no, you know what? We can use it. We can use it a little bit more than that. But always keep your parents informed of what's going on in the classroom. You don't want that to be a surprise for them, because then it turns around the surprise on you. They want to know what's going on in this time and era. If you watch the news every day, you're going to know what's going on at your school. You got to make your message clear. We use the AI to enhance the human connection, not to replace it. You got to make sure they understand that. Your advisory counselor groups need to be involved. Your administration needs to be involved. Your stakeholders need to be involved. Everybody needs to know what's going on. You cannot keep this to just your staff. Hey, by the way, this is what we're doing with the kids. Release, and then find out what's going on. And then the parents are nowhere near knowing what is going on. And then faster communication, the involvement of the leaders of your school. Another thing that is important, just like parents are important, just like stakeholders are important, tell your pastor what's going on. Because sometimes people escalate to the pastor right away and they skip the whole school part. They're like, hey, you know, at your school, your 4th grader is introducing my kid to like some sort of AI technology. And then if your pastor is not informed of what's going on, there will be like, well, I'm sorry, I have no idea what you're talking about. And that is not a good look. You know, that is not what we want for our community. You got to make sure that everyone is involved. You don't have to tell them exactly what you're doing, but you can share that 4-year plan, for example. You can share certain ideas. You can share, hey, look, this is going to be happening soon. This is going to be happening with 1st grade. This is going to be happening with 12th grade. We're about to launch a pilot program. We're about to incorporate a software called Magic School. We're about to, just tell the people that needs to be involved what you are doing so they are involved as well. And finally, your community stakeholders, like I said before, just make sure that everybody that has hands in your community and that gives contributions, stay on top of what the school is doing, make sure that they also know. Make sure they know what's going on. Make sure they know this is what's happening. This is how we're implementing. This is the roadmap that we have. And hopefully in 4 years for now, we accomplish these goals. We're going to be revisiting. We're going to be doing this. We're going to be doing that. But make sure that they know what your plans are. So that brings us to the open kind of Q&A session. In the document that we put together with the 4-year plan, if you scroll down some more, you have the RUM call for AI ethics. Very important. It's kind of like what the leaders of the Catholic Church are giving you as a guideline for principles that you should follow when incorporating AI technologies into your school. Very, very important to know. Very, very important to embed within your plan. Make sure you follow these 6 principles. I put the definition and I kind of put an example of a school application for each one of them. Very helpful stuff. If you scroll down some more, that is the importance of COPA and FERPA, the legal guardians or the legal guardrails of what you're about to do or already doing in the case of Miss Cindy. You got to make sure that you understand these policies. You got to make sure that you know them, familiarize with them. I put kind of like a three column comparison in the comparison in there, like feature, who's protected, what's the main concern, what's the key action in the Catholic view for each one, COPA and FERPA. You can revise those in your own time, but it's just for you to have an idea. There's much more information out there about this, but it's for you to have an idea what does it mean when people say COPA, or what does it mean when people mentions FERPA. You need to be kind of you need to understand these terms in order to have a conversation. And now, if we go back, so you have all that in the 4-year strategic plan document, the call for ethics as well. And so now I can open this for, if you have any questions, we can address that. You have to make sure you unmute yourself. Does anyone has any questions? Anyone has any questions about like, where can I start my implementation? Where do I find more resources about this? Anything?
I would like to ask any school that is interested in maybe getting Magic School to email me and David Garcia Prats, because we're hoping to get enough on board that maybe we can get a district rate. So please email me that. I wish Cindy, Orlando, I love that you gave your whole demonstration today. That's great. And I would love to see, I know we didn't anticipate to look at the student side
Student
of it.
side, yeah.
Yeah, the student side, because that's a whole nother ball game. But I love that Magic School allows the actual lessons to incorporate apps for the students. So all of the things that they're suggesting, okay, here, do this, this, and this with your student. Well, they can actually create those lessons for you in apps that you assign to the student, and the student just gets on the Chromebook or the iPad and clicks on what's my lesson today, and boom, there it is. Now, do we want that to replace pen and paper? No, but there's just so much out there that can advance
Mm-hmm.
your the student minds, is taking it and using it as a tool. But yeah, there's a whole nother side to it. And Magic School itself, if it is a free website for just the really basic things. I know when you purchase the subscription, you get a lot more. You can customize things a lot more, and plus it saves for the next year, right?
Yeah.
They're the features. But if anybody here wants to go and just look at Magic School, you can play around with it for free, just to get a sense of what it is and how easy it is to use. But please email me if you think your school may be interested.
And same thing with the presentation and other resources. If you are stuck in a place where you're like, okay, I want to do these things, but I don't know where to start. You know, what would be a good way to start my planning? I know we have the 4-year little document over here, but if you need anything and help with that, for sure, email me as well. My email's listed over there. You can email me at any time, and I'll try to do my best to offer guidance. All right. Well, if there's not any questions, we can do the closing prayer real quick. Lord, guide us to use technology with wisdom and discernment. May our innovation always serve your truth, protect the dignity of our students, and honor the mission of our school. Amen.
Thank you so much, David. Thank you so much, Cindy and John. I appreciate y'all sharing your knowledge today. And if anyone has any questions after parking lot thinker like I am, when you get in your car, say I should have asked this, please feel free to email me, okay? And y'all have a great day. We'll give you back your time.
Thank you. Thank you all for
Bye.
coming, and thank you, Miss Cindy, for the opportunity.
Absolutely. David, awesome presentation. Very helpful. Thanks.
Thank you.